I told her not to travel with her male best friend. She responded by posting, "Men think they own you." I stayed silent, changed my status to single, canceled the wedding, moved out, and watched her world collapse. I am Daniel, 34, and I work as an operations analyst for a logistics company. I live just outside Denver. Early mornings, long spreadsheets, predictable routines. I like things planned, clear, and calm. That has always been true, long before this situation. My fiancée is Lauren, 31. We have been together almost 4 years, engaged for 9 months, living together in a rented townhouse. The wedding is scheduled for early fall. Deposits paid. Save the date sent. Families involved. On paper, everything looked settled. Lauren is confident, outspoken, and very aware of how she is perceived. She is great in public, sharp with words, and has a way of framing things so she always sounds like the reasonable one. In private, that confidence often turns into impatience. If something challenges her self-image, she treats it like an attack. She also has a male best friend named Chris, 32. They have known each other since college. He is always present in small but constant ways. Late-night texts. Inside jokes I am not part of. Stories that start with "you had to be there." I never accused her of anything. I never told her to cut him off. I did what people say you were supposed to do. I trusted her and ignored the discomfort. Until she told me they were planning a trip together. She said it casually, while scrolling on her phone, like it was already decided. Just a few days out of state. Just the two of them. She said it was nothing serious and asked why I was quiet. I told her I was not okay with it. Calmly, clearly. I said traveling alone with another man while we were engaged crossed a boundary for me. I did not yell. I did not accuse. I just said no. She did not argue right away. She smiled, shrugged, and said we would talk later. That night, she locked herself in the bedroom. The next morning, my phone started lighting up. That is when I saw the post. The post was a selfie of Lauren in our kitchen, coffee mug in hand, like she was doing some calm morning reset. The caption said, "Men think they own you when they feel threatened by your freedom." No name. But it was obviously aimed at me because this happened less than 12 hours after I said I was not okay with the trip. The comments filled up fast. Her friends were hyping it up with "you tell them. Proud of you. Do not let a man control you." Chris commented first, of course. A little joke about booking flights and escaping the haters. She pinned his comment. I felt my stomach drop, but not in a dramatic way. More like a quiet realization that she had already chosen the arena. Not our living room. Not an actual conversation. The internet. When she came out of the bedroom, she acted like nothing was wrong. She asked if I was making breakfast. Then she looked at my face and said, "What? Are you mad?" Like I was supposed to apologize for having a reaction. I said I saw the post. She shrugged and said it was not about me unless I made it about me. That was her favorite move. Say something aimed at me, then pretend I am paranoid for noticing. I told her it was not controlling to say I was uncomfortable with my fiancée traveling alone with her male best friend. I said it was a boundary. I said we could talk about options, like changing the plan, inviting others, or going another time. I stayed calm on purpose. Lauren laughed. Not a warm laugh. A dismissive one. She said I was insecure and that marriage was going to be hard if I needed constant reassurance. She said Chris is family and that I should be grateful. She even told me instead of just going. That last part landed like a slap because it was not a mistake. It was a threat disguised as honesty. I asked if she would be okay with me taking a week-long trip with a close female friend, alone. She said that is different. When I asked how, she said because she is not like other people and I should trust her. Then she picked up her phone, started scrolling, and smiled at a new notification. She was enjoying the support. She was letting strangers and Chris validate her while I stood there in the same room. I did not argue more. I did not raise my voice. I just went quiet. And that silence did something to her. She kept glancing at me like she was waiting for me to chase her, to fight, to beg, to give her a scene she could use later. I did none of it. I went to my laptop instead and pulled up our wedding folder. I did not do anything dramatic at first. No announcements. No speeches. I just started reading. Venue contract. Caterer agreement. Photographer timeline. All the things that only one of us had actually kept track of. Lauren liked the aesthetic parts. I handled the structure. That division had always felt practical. In that moment, it felt like leverage she forgot existed. She hovered behind me after a few minutes, clearly unsettled by the silence. She asked what I was doing. I said I was checking dates. She said why, like the answer was not obvious. I asked her again if she was still planning to go on the trip. She said yes. Then she said probably. Then she said she was not going to cancel her life because I felt threatened. Each answer shifted slightly, testing which one would make me react. I did not. She accused me of being cold. She said I was punishing her by shutting down. She said this was emotional manipulation. Then she snapped and said, fine, maybe we should rethink getting married if you are like this. I looked at her and said maybe you are right. That was all. No follow-up. No explanation. No argument. I went back to the laptop. She stood there for a few seconds waiting for more, then scoffed like she had won something and went to bed. I stayed up. I packed only what I needed. Clothes, laptop, documents, things I actually owned. I did not slam drawers. I did not wake her. I left my ring on the kitchen counter where she would see it immediately. Before I walked out, I opened my phone and changed my relationship status to single. No caption, no post, just the fact. Then I locked the door behind me and drove to a hotel on the other side of town. I slept better than I had in weeks. By the time she woke up, I was already gone. And that is when her version of the story started to unravel. I woke up to my phone vibrating nonstop. Missed calls. Messages stacking on top of each other. Some angry, some confused, some swinging wildly between the two. Lauren had noticed the ring first, then the empty closet space, then the status change. Her first text was, "What the hell is wrong with you?" The second was, "Where are you?" The third accused me of trying to scare her. The fourth said this was abusive and immature. She cycled through emotions faster than I could read them. I did not reply. By mid-morning, the post started. The first one was vague. Something about how silence is the loudest form of control. Lots of likes. Lots of people telling her she was strong. She tagged no one, but everyone knew. Then she noticed my status. That one set her off. She messaged me demanding I change it back because people were asking questions. She said I was humiliating her. She said I was making her look abandoned. Not betrayed. Not heartbroken. Abandoned. Like I had failed a duty. I stayed quiet and started making calls instead. Venue first. Then the caterer. Then the photographer. Everything booked under my name or my card. Calm voice. Simple sentences. Engagement ended. Please cancel. Yes, I understand the deposit is non-refundable. That is fine. Each confirmation email felt heavier and lighter at the same time. Around noon, she figured out where I was staying. She did not knock politely. She was banging on the door, hard enough that I heard someone across the hall open theirs and then quickly close it again. I did not answer. She called my phone while she was outside the door. I watched it ring. Then again. Then messages came through saying, "Open the door. This is ridiculous. Stop hiding." I sat on the edge of the bed and waited. After a few minutes, the banging stopped. I heard her pacing. Then her voice, louder, saying things meant for anyone listening. About how I was cruel. How I was punishing her. How she could not believe I was acting like this. Eventually, she left. That was when I realized something important. If I had opened that door, nothing would have changed. She would have argued, reframed, escalated, used the moment. Not opening it was the boundary, and it told me I was finally done negotiating with someone who only respected limits when they were forced. Once she left the hotel, the tone shifted again. The anger online got sharper. She posted about men who disappear instead of communicating, about emotional abandonment, about how silence is violence. The language escalated fast. The comments followed right along, validating every word. Chris jumped in again, loud and supportive, saying anyone who treats her like that never deserved her. I still did not respond. Instead, I emailed our landlord. I told them the engagement had ended and asked what the process would be to remove myself from the lease early. I checked the numbers. The penalty hurt, but not enough to matter. Money was easier to replace than peace. By the afternoon, mutual friends started reaching out. Not confrontational. Careful. Asking if I was okay. Asking what happened because Lauren's version felt intense and confusing. I kept my replies short. We disagreed on boundaries. I ended the engagement. That was it. What surprised me was how many people already knew about the trip. Not because she told them after the fight, but because she had been talking about it before. Casually. Like it was a done deal. Some of them assumed I was going too. Others thought it was weird, but did not question it. That detail sat with me. She texted again that night. Long message. Emotional. Apologetic in tone, but not in content. She said she never meant to hurt me. She said I forced her into a corner. She said posting was how she processed things. She said if I had just talked to her, none of this would have happened. I read it once. Then I blocked her. No reply. No clarification. No final words. Just remove the access. Around midnight, she posted again. This time a story. Screenshot of a quote about how strong women scare weak men. She tagged no one. She did not have to. The next morning, I got confirmation emails from the venue and the caterer. Wedding officially canceled. That was the moment it became real. Not symbolic. Not emotional. Real. And that is when her attempts to reach me stopped sounding angry and started sounding desperate through other people. Once I blocked her, the noise did not stop. It just rerouted. Messages started coming in from people who were suddenly concerned intermediaries. Friends asking if I had really vanished. Her sister asking if I could please just talk to her. A mutual co-worker saying Lauren was not doing well and maybe I should show some compassion. I did not engage with the framing. I answered once, briefly, to two people I trusted. I said the engagement was over and I was not continuing contact. I did not justify it. I did not debate it. I just stated it. Lauren did not respect that. She started emailing. Long subject lines. Paragraphs that swung between apology and accusation. She said she felt discarded. She said she never imagined I would abandon her like this. She said blocking her was cruel and immature. She said if I really loved her, I would not shut her out. That was the part that kept repeating. If you loved me. Not I am sorry. Not I crossed a line. Just conditions. I set a filter so the email skipped my inbox and went straight to a folder I did not open. I did not want to read something in a weak moment and get pulled back into the loop. A few days later, I heard through mutual friends that she was spiraling. Not quietly. Loudly. Showing up places unannounced. Rehashing the story over and over, but tweaking details depending on the audience. In some versions, I was controlling. In others, I was emotionally unavailable. In all of them, she was blindsided. Chris was everywhere in those stories. Supporting her. Defending her. Posting with her. People started noticing how quickly he filled the gap I left. That did not make me jealous. It made me tired. I went back to the townhouse once, during work hours, to get the rest of my things. She was not there. The space already looked different. Pictures moved. Decorations gone. Like she was rewriting the environment the same way she rewrote the narrative. I took what was mine and left the rest. That night, my phone rang from an unknown number. I did not answer. A voicemail came through anyway. It was Lauren, crying, saying she did not understand how everything collapsed so fast. It did not collapse fast. It collapsed the moment she chose an audience over a conversation. By the end of that week, the story stopped being hers alone. People talk. Especially when timelines do not line up. Especially when someone is posting nonstop while the other person says almost nothing. The contrast started doing work I never asked for. A mutual friend told me Lauren had been telling people I disappeared without warning. That I refused to communicate. That I punished her for being independent. The same friend told me she forgot to mention the trip in most versions. Or she reframed it as a girl's trip that somehow turned into something else later. That omission mattered. Because other people remembered her talking about traveling with Chris weeks before any fight happened. Casually. Excitedly. Like it was already approved. When those details surfaced, the tone around her shifted. Not loudly. Quietly. Side glances. Less enthusiastic support. She felt it. Her post slowed down. The captions got shorter. Less confident. More wounded. She stopped quoting empowerment pages and started sharing things about betrayal and abandonment. She wanted sympathy now, not applause. Chris stayed close. Very close. Too close. He started showing up in photos that were clearly meant to look accidental. Coffee cups. Car dashboards. Inside jokes only they understood. It felt less like comfort and more like proof. Proof that she was not alone. Proof that she had options. It backfired. People noticed the timing. People asked questions. Someone commented asking if that was the same guy from the trip. The comment disappeared within minutes, but the damage stuck. She tried reaching me again through a different email account. Short message this time. Just asking if we could talk like adults. I did not reply. That silence said more than any explanation would have. A week later, I heard she lost a bridesmaid. Someone quietly stepped away and said they did not feel comfortable being involved anymore. Another followed. No confrontation. Just distance. That is how it started collapsing. Not all at once. Piece by piece. And the thing that surprised me most was how calm I felt watching it happen from a distance. I was not relieved because she was hurting. I was relieved because I finally stopped being responsible for how she felt about the consequences of her own choices. The practical consequences started landing next. Lauren finally told her parents the wedding was off. Not the real reason. She framed it as me having a breakdown. needing space, being overwhelmed by commitment. Her mother called me that night, careful and polite, asking if I was okay. I told her the engagement ended because we were no longer aligned on boundaries or respect. I did not mention Chris. I did not mention the posts. I did not vent. I kept it short. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Then she said, "That makes sense." That was it. A few days later, Lauren tried to collect sympathy in a different way. She started talking about finances, about how hard it was to suddenly afford things alone, about how unfair it was that I left her with such a mess. She conveniently skipped the part where the lease was split, and she insisted on the townhouse because it looked good for engagement photos. Reality does not care about aesthetics. The landlord approved my removal from the lease. I paid my penalty and signed the paperwork. From that point on, the place was entirely her responsibility. That change hit her harder than any argument could have. Bills are not impressed by Instagram captions. She showed up at my office once. Not inside. Outside. Waiting near the parking lot. A coworker texted me a heads up before I even saw her. I stayed inside until she left. HR later told me they would have handled it if needed. That embarrassed her more than anything else so far. After that, the narrative shifted again. She started telling people I was cold, calculated, that I planned this, that I punished her instead of loving her. The words got sharper as her options narrowed. But fewer people were listening now. The wedding website went offline. Registry links disappeared. Guests quietly adjusted travel plans. Her dream event evaporated without a dramatic ending, just a series of cancellations and refunds. She was losing the future she had been performing toward. And the more that future collapsed, the clearer it became that she was not grieving a relationship. She was grieving the life she had already posted about. The collapse was not dramatic. That was the part she never understood. There was no big confrontation, no viral moment where everyone turned on her at once. It was quieter than that. People stopped asking how she was doing. Invitations slowed down. Group chats went silent. Support became conditional and then faded. Chris stuck around longer than anyone else. Long enough that people started noticing he was less a best friend and more a placeholder. When the wedding was still a possibility, he was supportive background noise. Once it was gone, he became the obvious next thing. That shift made people uncomfortable. Apparently, the trip never happened. Too many questions. Too many raised eyebrows. Suddenly, it was not about freedom anymore. It was about optics, and the optics were bad. She tried reaching out again through a friend. A message relayed secondhand. She said she just wanted closure. She said she needed one conversation to understand how everything fell apart so fast. That word again. Fast. I told the friend no. I said there was nothing left to clarify. A few days later, I heard she had to move. The townhouse was too expensive on one income. The same place she insisted on because it looked right for engagement photos and hosting. She downsized to a smaller apartment across town. No photos. No announcement. The silence around her grew heavier. Not hostile, just indifferent. That was when I realized the thing she lost was not me. She lost the version of herself that existed when everything looked perfect from the outside. The narrative, the timeline, the applause. When those disappeared, she had nothing to perform against. I did not feel satisfaction watching it happen. I felt distance. Like watching a storm pass after you have already left the area. The life I was building no longer required her reactions, her posts, or her approval. And that made the final reflection unavoidable. With distance, the ending stopped feeling like an ending and started feeling like a correction. I did not leave because of one post or one trip idea. Those were just the visible parts. What actually broke things was realizing how easily she reframed me as the problem the moment I stopped agreeing. How fast she chose validation over resolution. How natural it was for her to turn a boundary into an attack and an audience into a shield. When I stayed silent, changed my status, canceled the wedding, and walked away, she thought I was trying to control the narrative. What she did not understand was that I had stopped participating in it altogether. Watching her world collapse was not satisfying. It was unsettling. Not because she was hurting, but because so much of her identity depended on being seen, supported, and admired. When that disappeared, there was nothing underneath to steady her. I did not win anything. I did not prove anything. I just stopped pretending that love means absorbing disrespect quietly so someone else can feel powerful. If there is advice in this, it is simple and uncomfortable. Pay attention to how someone reacts when you say no calmly. Not loudly. Not emotionally. Just no. If they mock you, post about you, or recruit strangers to validate them. That is not independence. That is avoidance dressed up as empowerment. Marriage requires restraint. Choosing not to cross certain lines because you value what you are protecting. She wanted freedom without friction. I wanted partnership with boundaries. Those things do not coexist. I am no longer engaged. The wedding is gone. The future I thought I was building changed shape completely. But for the first time in a long while, it feels like it is actually mine.